30 seconds is all it takes to change a life. In 30 seconds, you could feed starving children in your household by ordering chicken tenders on the Skip the Dishes app. In 30 seconds, Brock Lesnar could pick up, F5, and pin any wrestler on the ROH, TNA, NXT, CZW, AEW, NWA, and WWE roster, and there wouldn't be a damn thing anybody could do about it. And in the case of the Chicago Bears, 30 seconds is all it takes for your head coach to get himself fired. So let's put this in the form of a multiple choice question for all of the couch coaches and football fanatics listening to Hyper Turbo Skews at home. It is the last 30 seconds of your football game against the Detroit Lions, and you are down by 3 points. Your number one draft pick quarterback has gotten sacked, and you are a Subaru's length away from field goal range. And you have one timeout. What do? Is it A, call a timeout immediately, conjure up a team play to get back into field goal range? Is it B, run a sideline passing play, immediately go out of bounds, and preserve a precious timeout? Is it perhaps C, fast play call to get extra yards and then call a timeout? Or is it D, let the clock run down to 6 seconds, then say, we're ballin', and then throw a pass into deep coverage, thus looking like a chump? And if you have selected D, congratulations, you are no longer the head coach of the Bears. See you in the CFL, pal. Matt Eberflus, we hardly knew ye. You could have defeated the greatest Detroit Lions team in its franchise history, but instead you clowned yourself out of the job that you never should have had. Now, while Sonic and Knuckles may be at the box office and various streaming platforms, tensions were high and Knuckles sandwiches were flying all over as the Sonic Jaguars and the Houston Texans encountered this weekend. Jacksonville's freak show quarterback Trevor Lawrence was taking his football for a leisurely jog to the first down marker when terror struck. Texans defender Azeez Al-Shaair lowered his horns and took charge at the gallivanting Jaguars quarterback, which then caused Lawrence to shift from a full sprint into the patented Hawk to a slide. Lawrence could not get low enough to the ground, and that charging bull Al-Shaair landed a devastating elbow-to-helmet blow. A Pier 6 brawl would then erupt on the field between the Jaguars and the Texans as old Trev Lawrence laid on the field, making turf angels shaped like a lowercase letter L. Trevor Lawrence would then get carted off of the turf as the Houston Texans would hand the Jaguars an L, winning the game 23-20. Al-Shaair has been slapped with a fine and a 3-game suspension for his troubles. And speaking of trouble, there was one wrestler who was always getting into trouble, and as Buddy Landell once said, if it don't snow, I don't go. So the lock of the week went to Buffalo for a snow day, and the 49ers offense slid around like a Miata on an outdoor hockey rink, and Christian McCaffrey now won't be able to save the San Francisco season as he visited the snow-covered blue tent during the first half. The Buffalo Bills snowplowed through the snow and the 49ers defense in a 35-10 victory. Russell Wilson continues to defy the haters as the Pittsburgh Steelers put more holes in the sinking ship that is known as the Cincinnati Bengals season, as the Steelers kept their heads above the water, winning the game 44-38. And a one-legged Baker Mayfield did what the Chicago Bears could not do. During the back-and-forth Buccaneers-Panthers showdown, Baker Mayfield's ankle found itself on the receiving end of a Panthers curb stomp. Mayfield then limped to the sideline to find himself a bag of frozen peas, only to discover that all the frozen peas had been boiled and buttered for the Thanksgiving meal. With no frozen peas and Zins banned from the sideline, it was all 100% pure Mayfield as the Buccaneers rallied to force overtime and kick home a winner, with the final score being 26-23. Another game in my notebook saw Saquon Barkley outrun Derrick Henry, with the stinking Eagles beating the Ravens 24-19. Fly, Eagles, fly. And we'll start our look at Week 14's games by starting with the Monday Night Simpsons Spectacular. Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie and other residents of Springfield will be entertaining us through an otherwise garbage Bengals-Cowboys stinker of a game. Unfortunately for viewers of this, 2D live animation causes animators' wrists to explode, so we're going back to GameCube era hit-and-run graphics for our favorite jaundice-ridden characters. The regulars at Moe's Tavern are ecstatic that this town is once again hosting an NFL game, while the owner and operator of the Android's Dungeon assures me that any football games in the year 2024 between the Bengals and Cowboys will be an easy candidate for the worst football game ever. Fresh off a ghoulish performance, Kirk Cousins goes back to his last season's stomping grounds as the Atlanta Falcons will take on the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday afternoon. The Vikings sit under the Lions in their division, and all they've done this year is let Sam Darnold goof around. Yet still the Vikings should get this win, goofing off or not. The LA Chargers will be in Taylortown on Sunday night to take on Pitmaster Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have won all their games this season by 3 different methods of victory. So once again, this one is multiple choice. Will the Kansas City Chiefs win their Sunday night game by A, pure skill and determination, B, sketchy and subpar officiating, C, sheer dumb luck, or D, the LA Chargers have this game in the bag? And once again, if you have selected D in the multiple choice, you're probably a big dummy and you ain't coaching the Chicago Bears no more. And somehow the Seattle Seahawks are currently sitting in 3rd place in the NFC playoff race. Geno Smith and his crew currently have a 7-5 record after they just barely defeated the New York Jets last week, and now the Seahawks will travel to Arizona to keep the playoff push alive and keep Geno Smith into sports talk radio relevancy. And although Baker Mayfield sustained an ankle injury last week, I am fully confident that Baker Mayfield will play on Sunday and spin that ball around 92 times, yeah, launching it deep into the end zone. Touchdown, oh yeah. Sorry. With Gardner Minshew out of action and New York State Representative for the 14th District, AOC, slinging footballs for the Raiders, the season is doomed in Vegas, and I anticipate the Buccaneers to blast the Raiders into orbit in this matchup. Jameis Winston is as Jameis Winston does, and Jameis Winston put up 400-plus yards in a losing attempt against the Broncos. Now the Browns need Jameis to turn those numbers into a win as the Browns go into Pittsburgh for Sunday's 1 p.m. slate. As I mentioned earlier, Russell Wilson is balling out for the Steelers, and there have been various Steelers wins this year where all of them, or at least 3/4 of the total points scored, came from field goals only. The Pittsburgh Steelers have constantly been as good as their opponent, keeping the score low like it was in the case of the Steelers' Week 2 13-6 victory over the Broncos, or matching high-scoring teams, such as was the case in the 44-38 win over Cincinnati. Since firing Matt Canada, the Steelers' offense runs smoothly, so no matter which version of Jameis Winston shows up to play on Sunday, the Steelers should be able to match the pace. With terrible towels flapping in the wind and fans eating Ben Roethlisbergers in the stands, it's the pace that runs the place. There's only one room for one playoff team in Pity City, and it ain't gonna be the Penguins. The pigskin is gonna soar through the air like it did in the Simpsons episode, Lisa the Vegetarian. Najee Harris is going to run the ball like Homer ran for the sanitation department in the episode Trash of the Titans. Hyper Turbo Skeuseball might not mop up when you're overflowing, but we will tell you if someone's arse is showing. Now, before I get to the part here, people have been saying around the water cooler conversation, like that weasel Zach McGibbon is saying right now, they're saying that I don't really know my football. And I don't really know my Simpsons trivia. Well, guess what? I do know my football because the lock of the week has an 11-2 record, and I do know my Simpsons trivia. Hell, I don't just know about my Simpsons trivia. I know a guy who was on The Simpsons. Say the line, Brett.
Why would I want a picture of the Pencil Neck Geek? The Pittsburgh Steelers are the Hyper Turbo Scooseball Lock of the Week.
That's right, Hyper Turbo Scooseball fans. The Nasty Boys will be waving the terrible towels, 'cause this week the lock goes to Pity City.